Alright guys, how's it going? Oop, banging you around here. Nothing fancy. Port work's done on it. I figured I'd show you guys. You know, it's been a while since I've done a somewhat of a wheel video, and I figured I'd show you a wheel video on a clamshell, because I know a lot of what they so-called professional porters don't touch clamshells. I'm not a professional, so I don't care. I port just about anything that I want to port. Some I get better results, some I don't. I ported a 36cc version of one of these quite a while ago. It turned out pretty good. There's a vid of it ripping through some oak on, if you go back far enough through my channels, and that one nothing crazy. I did that one 100 on the roof. Trying to remember what it did on the intake. I don't remember what it is. Probably around 80, 78, somewhere there on the intake. I don't think I moved the train. I don't even think I touched the upper transfers on that one. I might have just took just a little nick out of the edge of them to get them to flow where I wanted. But this one's going reed, so I don't have to worry about intake. I'll show you when I tear it apart on how I chose to do this one. But on a wheel, typically I like to look in here and roll the saw all the way down to bottom dead center, because it'll start getting you close. You can use a thread end piston stop, or no, I know I got some somewhere. Not quite sure. They come with these things. You can use them piston stops. Believe it or not, I'll typically, I'll use a 5/16 nut driver if I can't find anything, and then I'll just put it in here, and then I'll hold it. But if you're doing it this way, you got to be careful that you get the same spot every time, or you're going to be chasing. The good way to hit the same spot every time is just one of these. And I don't even think this one's the right threads in part way and then binds, but it kind of works as a, so I don't go too far on the thing. But then you want to spin this around, and it should hit 50. I don't know if you can see that on the wheel or not, but that's 50 that way. And you just go nice and slow, you ain't no rush, and it's 50 that way. Double check it. Do it 3, 4, 5 times. I'll do it 20 times. I do it as many times until I feel comfortable that I make sure I got it centered. But if you're hitting the same number each way, you're good to go. You're centered. And then another reason why I like using timing wheels, say if I do a lot of 102 roofs on a lot of work saws. This allows me to easily hit that number without it. To become a good porter, I feel you got to be able, if you set your mind on a set of numbers, you got to be able to hit them numbers. If you say you want to hit 102, you should be able to hit 102. If you're overshooting, you're probably going into it too fast, don't have the right mindset. I'll pull a cylinder off 100 times if I have to, just to make sure, especially if it's on a saw that's not mine. If I'm looking for a certain set of desired numbers. On some saws, it's not as important. I mean, if you go over a degree or two, but if you're threading the envelope on too far, like a degree could push you past where you just have a turd of a saw, because you just you tried to push limits so far that you just went too far and bled off too much torque. If you're really trying to run that fine line between too much and you give it a touch too much, it sure lets you know in a hurry. You can typically do more damage than good. That's why, like, when I port, I like to do a whole series of, I'll do 10 different steps, and each little step might be just a minute gain for the positive, but if you stack up a whole bunch of them, you get a big gain at the end. Whereas if you start overshooting and misshaping your ports and overshooting timing numbers, you can, it doesn't take very many of going the other way to get a bad result. And then you got to work your butt off if you can even save it to get them good results back. But like this one, I wanted 96 on the roof on this because that's what I'm running on that Echo Reed saw, and this is going to my buddy Doug. And this saw, we don't care if it lives. It's probably not going to live anyway. It's a bare aluminum cylinder. These things are super cheap. I'm going to whiz the snot piss out of it. So I wanted 96 on the roof, and I hit it. You know, if you work, you know, and get good at where you can hit your numbers, it makes a difference on hardest part's always judging where you want your rayolite, but I'm gonna call that where I want that one. I'll move you over. As you can see, I'm at 96. And there's the first squeak of light. I guess maybe I'll take you out of the phone. Hold it here so I can get you a better view. Sorry for the crummy videos. Is this thing gonna focus? See right there's the first squeak of light. And 95.6 right there. Intake is 360 on this one. It does not, intake's irrelevant on a Reed. It does not matter. I actually enlarged the crankcase and stuff on this. But, so, yeah, but, that's how I do it. I really feel using a wheel has made me a better porter, for consistency. Because if I was to fly in here blind and port this thing, I wouldn't know where it was at to start with, and where I want to push it to, if that makes any sense, guys. But you know, use a wheel to get, you know, after, I don't know, I guess after you do a few hundred port jobs, you get a gauge on, you know, and it varies from stroke to stroke. Like a longer stroke, the amount of thousandths is going to be different for a degree versus, you know, a shorter stroke. But you'll get a feel for it, you know. Like you know, if you're shaving off 10 thousandths, you know where you're moving it to. But typically, I'll throw a ring in. I'll bring this all the way down to bottom dead center, and on Pro Saws it's a lot easier. This, it's just, you know, I had to tip it up in that other video on its side to get the, but I'll put a ring in there, and then I will back this back up, and I actually go a few degrees less than what I actually desire, because that gives me room to clean up the port and stuff. If you're not polishing ports and stuff, you can go right up to the number that you're desiring. But typically, I find by the time if I give me 2 degrees of you know, safety zone in there, by the time I 80 grit it, by the time I carbide cut it, 80 grit it, 180 it, 220, 320, 600, and then Scotch braid it. And then if I choose to go into polishing, typically I don't go much more than Scotch braid. It just depends on what I'm doing. This one I'm not gonna, you know, it's Scotch braid finish. It's perfectly fine for this. But that gives me 2 degrees of being able to clean up and shape the port the way I want it to for the finished product. So as you guys do this, and don't be scared, it's, you know, I say the best thing is to do, pick up a grinder and go after it, guys. And, you know, well, thanks to my good buddy Eric there, and setting out a challenge for these wild things and a couple other big builders that are entering into this contest too. it sure has seemed to jack the price of what these things used to be. I used, this one I picked up for $10, but I had a bad cylinder. I didn't know it, but then my buddy Eric donated this cylinder to the channel. But sure seems like I'm seeing them on Marketplace now. They're wanting like $100, $75 for these Poland Wild things, and they're smoking stuff because they're just it's not worth it to me. I personally wouldn't pay more than $20 for one, but that's me. And I mean, I might pay $40-$50 if it was like in pristine shape and that's what I wanted and it was running. But I don't. They're a cheap throwaway saw, but it's kind of cool that we get to do whatever we want to this build. So I'm hoping the Wild Thing cheap saw thing at Sawfest is going to be really gnarly. I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of unique builds there. I don't care if this wins, loses, it doesn't matter. It's all in the name of fun, and this is kind of fun, taking a junker and pushing it hard. But I'm going to pause you guys, then I'm going to bring you back. I'm going to pop this apart, and I'm going to show you the stock cylinder to what I did to this on the ports and stuff. Alright guys, I'm back. This is that stock one that's got it's right there. It's almost like the pin came out of the piston and cut a groove up in it. It probably would have ran, but it wouldn't have ran to its potential. I'm just going to use that as demonstration purpose. I did a ton of, I guess I'm going to call this the lower case work and lower transfer work. I did a ton of work down here. And here's the intake port. Like I said, it's feeds 100% to the case, but it does not. If you were to do this on a normal, let me adjust this, guys. If you was to do this on a normal saw, it would spit back through the carburetor so bad I don't even think it would run. But I can get away with this because I'm running a reed block in this. It's a one-way check valve, so it won't spit back through the carburetor. But that's how I chose to feed this one. I left the height of the uppers. Man, this is hard to. I left the height of the uppers stock, but I cut a little groove in there and lengthened them a little bit. I did change the volume of them tremendously. There's the exhaust port. I typically don't funnel them out like this, but on this build I am, because it's going to go into a pipe, and I want a nice, for the reflect back, I want a good charge coming back in, so is why I did that. But I mean, you can see there's a huge difference. I think this is an older model one. This might be a newer one. I noticed this one has much wider transfer than what this one has, but I think I'm going to leave this because I cut a huge groove. I made that groove right there huge, and I followed it all the way up to the top, and I cut a tunnel right in here to feed it. So there's some differences. This one says 125.49 on it, and the other one says 3708-Z. But there is some differences, but the intakes look the same. I milled this down and put this reed block on it. I ground this up because I'm going to apply another beefier protection of JB Weld on that. Let me grab that. crank here for you guys. And you can see I tried to free up a way to get more fuel up them transfers. There's no, I didn't lung it because the piston goes right to the port. I chose not to cut the piston because this one I was able to cut the cylinder all the way down. As you can see daylight down there. It'll get fuel. And then there's no free port. I took it just before it would free port. And that's another thing that when you're porting saws, you know, that's something you guys have to check out and check on so they don't free port. But this is a bare aluminum bore, chrome piston and ring, so I don't know how long she's going to live. I don't know what it's going to get used, seals, and it's going to get gooped together. But the port work is done on it. I thought about welding up some of that combustion chamber, but these I really can't do not much about the squish, and I'm going to make this run on just regular old 87 anyway, so that's what I'm gonna do with that. But I just, you know, I try to keep everything, you know, I don't hide nothing from you guys. There is stuff that I don't show, like I don't show, and I probably won't never show how I cut combustion chambers, because how I have to do it, it's very risky. There's probably a 70% chance of me screwing my cylinder up the way I do it, and I don't want to show that and have someone else try to try it how I do it, and then have a screw up and then get all frustrated because, well, you know, I showed you guys how to do it. But you guys can use your imagination. It's, you know, you're removing material from a top of a cylinder is all you're doing when you're cutting a combustion chamber. There's a lot of ways to do it. So my way is probably not right, and you know, actually a lot of things I do is probably not right, but I do them. I do what works for me. Is it the right way? I don't know. But you can see I did a, you know, ton of casework to this thing. So I'm trying to think of anything else that I've done to it. It's 96 on the roof. Transfers are stock. It had 20 degrees blow down, so it should have more blow down than it did. I didn't recheck it when I had the wheel on there, but it had 20 degrees before. It was at 100. So a little bit of math and you can figure out where the blowdown is on this. It doesn't really matter. This is just a toy, but I think I'm going to apply JB Weld, set it up in the vise, let that sit overnight, and my carburetor should be here tomorrow, and I can start reassembling. I'm probably going to JB Weld up the gas tank vent on the gas cap, and I'm just going to put an external gas tank vent, kind of like the Echoes and some Steels have. I'll probably use an Echo. Actually, I got a CS 4400 part, so I'll probably steal the line and gas tank vent out. I'm going to go that way. And then I got to drill holes. Got to pull out the Poland fuel line, and I got to drill holes and put bigger fuel line. I do got to buy fuel line yet. Actually, I'm out of fuel line for a lot of things. But, yep. So that is the Poland Wild thing. I will probably take you along when I get it closer to fitting, and I'll show you what I did, and then when I build the pipe and all that good stuff, and I'm hoping it's going to run. But let me know what you guys think. Sorry for the long boring video and me rambling on, but you guys enjoy your day.